Yo, what is up guys? It's your boy Mike. You already know what is up and what is good. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about game 2 of this Bucks Pacers series. Now, this game turned out exactly how I expected. A lot more physical, a lot more chippy. There are a lot of technicals thrown out this game. So, in terms of the physicality standpoint of this game and how I pictured it would be, it turned out exactly how I thought it would be. Another thing I expected to take a turn was Halliburton. Halliburton definitely showed up in this game. He had some shots, he was playmaking, he was getting deflections, he was still active on defense. So Halliburton definitely turned a leaf in this game and was knocking me down more shot. So Halliburton definitely turned a leaf in this game, was hitting more shots, and was really feeling himself this game, and he was really able to get the Pacers going early. The Pacers' clutch shot making came up real huge for them down the stretch in this game. You had some huge shots by Nembhard. Nembhard's been staying aggressive, which I'm loving to see. He attacks Dame, he attacks Giannis too, of all players. Like, that Giannis-Nembhard matchup was really great to watch, and seeing Nembhard, a young player, attack a player like Giannis, get some moves on him, get some scores on him, and take advantage of his quickness and his shiftiness, and get around Giannis for some easy scores. Siakam and Nembhard both with some clutch threes down the stretch late in this game. Siakam's been holding it down. He's been the most consistent, I feel, in this series last season and this season. But I think Siakam's consistency is really going to help the Pacers sustain their success, and they can continue moving in the same direction and same path that the Pacers have been moving in at the close of this season and going into the postseason. But yeah, Siakam's consistencies are really helping the Pacers build a push into closing this series out and hopefully move that success into the next series. So props to Siakam and maintaining his consistencies in the playoffs so far. He's been matching up with Giannis. He's doing the best he can, but he's been getting some stops as well. He's also active on defense. He's been getting some pokes at the ball, so major props to Siakam for taking on that challenge, guarding Giannis, trying to stay in front, getting some steals, getting some deflections. So Siakam has been a really good X factor in the series and for the Pacers. The Pacers with some big stops down the stretch for this game. They were able to get some major stops to help the Pacers secure and maintain that cushion late in the game. The Pacers defense has been great this series so far in these first 2 games, maintaining Giannis the best they can, forcing Giannis to be a playmaker, getting the ball out of his hands, and keeping the ball out of his hands, which is also huge. Keeping the ball out of his hands is also important as getting the ball out of his hands as well. You know, after these 2 games, I'm really starting to wonder if the Pacers are too much for the Bucks to handle. I really don't know if the Bucks are equipped defensively and have the personnel to stop the Pacers and recover from that first initial blow. Their fast breaks and their stops and their defense and their threes and their energy. I mean, the Pacers come out from the jump and get that early lead, and the Bucks just spend so much time trying to fight back and claw their way back early in the game. I think it really just takes a tear on Giannis. It takes a tear on the team, and especially Dame trying to get his rhythm back, coming back from his injuries and his hardships off the court. So when you pair that with how the Pacers play, and then the Bucks having to exhaust that much energy trying to get back, trying to fight back, trying to get back in the game, it takes a toll on the game. It takes a toll on those players, and especially how long that they want this series to be. The Bucks are already down 2-0. So if they want to get back in the series, they're going to have to exhaust more energy to get back in the series and extend the series. But I ultimately believe the Pacers just may be too much for the Bucks, and I think it's just a bad matchup here. A couple things to look at late in the game for the Pacers. They were missing some wide open pass opportunities. It was just kind of a bad timing thing. It wasn't necessarily the Pacers' fault, but they had a couple of fast breaks, and you know, the ball handler just happened to look away or misread something where they thought something was going to be there or wasn't going to be there, and it was, or they just happened to look away, and that ultimately turned into someone being wide open in the basket quite a few times actually, and the Pacers just didn't see it, and that could have given them some baskets and to really strengthen their lead late in the, I think it was in the 3rd quarter, and a handful of times in the 4th quarter, and especially late in the 4th quarter. And tying into this is really having empty possessions and taking tough shots in the 4th quarter. and that's what really helped the Bucks get back into this game. Is the Pacers were kind of starting to take some wild layups, some bad shots, and bad shot selections, and this is ultimately what helped the Bucks get back into this game as well. So a couple of key things to look at going into the next game. And then moving into the Bucks now, Damian Lillard played pretty well considering his condition. He had a good game, what he's coming off of, you know what I mean? So props to Damian Lillard getting back into this game. He had a couple of huge shots late in the fourth quarter to really cut into that lead, to almost make it a game. I mean, it was a game late, but like I said, the Pacers just hit some clutch shots from Siakam and Nembhard, but that takes nothing away from the Bucks getting back into the game, cutting into the lead from the Pacers. Kuzma was way more aggressive. This is also something I really expected coming into game 2. Kuzma was way more aggressive. You could see it from when he touched the ball. As soon as he would get the ball, he would get it, attack his matchup, and he was being way more aggressive looking to score. And also, Kuzma was a really big part of that push late in the game for the Bucks. He had a couple of tough layups, tough scores, and he was really the dark horse push that the Bucks needed to really surge that comeback late in the fourth quarter and late in the game. Giannis, of course, was going to get his. Giannis was much more aggressive. It didn't seem as dominant. I don't know, like, he had a lot more scoring in the paint this game, but it seemed like in game 1 it felt more dominant because the Pacers just kept fouling him. Whereas this game, yes, the Pacers were fouling him, but a lot more possessions ended up as dunks in this game. Rather, again, in game 1, the key difference is in game 1, yes, they were leading the free throws, but they were ultimately missed free throws by Giannis, which helped the Pacers build that lead as well, which made it seem like it wasn't much of a dominant performance, even though it was, because the Pacers really couldn't stop him down low. But in game 2, you saw that a lot more possessions were on the fast break. Giannis taking advantage of the matchups, leading into dunks rather than free throws on the fast break, and some actions with Bobby Portis and Damian Lillard. So this game felt a lot more efficient from Giannis, because a lot more possessions just ended up as dunks rather than just free throws ended up being missed. Tying it back to Kuzma, you had a lot more production from the surrounding pieces by Giannis. Much better performance. They were able to cut the lead late in the game. Again, big props to Kuzma, and you saw a lot more aggressiveness, a lot more sharpness, I would say, in some spots of the game for the Bucks, and utilizing that first game as motivation to really, especially Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis had a huge game, was really knocking down those threes, so big props to Kuzma for being more aggressive, Bobby Portis for having a good performance, regardless if it ended up in a loss. Because, you know, this was a game in Milwaukee. This probably could have surged the Bucks to go on a huge run and to maybe even win this game. So, and that really showed flashes of what we could possibly see going into game 3 from the Bucks, going on those big runs. Now, after these 2 games, going forward in this series, I got a couple things down for each team. Is how the Pacers respond going on the road now. We saw how they performed at home. We know they're a great home team, but how will the Pacers respond after these 2 semi-dominant wins? Because it was starting to look like a repetition of game 1. You know, it was starting to look like a complete duplication of game 1. Huge punch early. Giannis and the Bucks trying to claw back into the game, and the Pacers ultimately pulling away for a huge win. Now again, the Pacers took some really bad shots late in the fourth quarter, which helped. It wasn't the main part, but it was really a big help in the Bucks really getting back in the game, and the Pacers taking some tough shots. But can they execute the same approach that they were doing in games 1 and 2? You know what I mean? Because like I said, they were able to bring it back late for the Bucks, but this is going to be their home court now. So can they maintain that fast level, fast pace, early punch, and get a big lead, or will it now be on the Bucks to do that? And that's what I have down for the Bucks. But let me finish out the Pacers first, and their last and second thing is their role players. Role players tend to play better at home, so now this whole narrative is going to be flipped. How will the Pacers role players play on the road? Will they have struggles? Will they have games where they can't hit a shot? And will the Bucks be able to take advantage of that? And now for the Bucks, it's can the Bucks give the Pacers a taste of their own medicine? Can the Bucks punish the Pacers the same way the Pacers were able to punish the Bucks? Early punch, big leads, taking advantage. We saw flashes, like I said, of what the Bucks could possibly do with those runs, utilizing the role players as a team, this game 3 and 4 is really going to be a testament of if the Pacers are too much for the Bucks to handle. If the Pacers come out and they have a double-digit lead again, or an 8-point lead going into halftime, and it's like you can tell, you can tell if the Pacers are still in control of the series and the game, then this is not going to look good for the Bucks. Now, if we come in, they're up by 12, 10, 13, and it's kind of the same, but it's the Bucks now, where the Bucks give the early punch and the Pacers are kind of clawing back, trying to get back into the game, then we can really have a series here. But with that is, how can the Bucks beat the Pacers? What will a Bucks win look like? Will it be Giannis dominant? Will it be Dame dominant? Will it be a tag team from Dame and Giannis? Will it be a big game from Kuzma or some other surrounding piece? We saw what Bobby Portis was able to do in game 2 here, but ultimately that still wasn't enough. They fell short just by 8 points, so maybe that's a different story going into game 3 and they're home. But the big question is, what will a Pacers loss or a Bucks win look like? Will it be getting extra stops? Will it be limiting fast break opportunities for the Pacers? And if so, can the Bucks execute that? You know what I mean? So what will a Bucks victory look like in terms of structure? You know what I mean? And again, lastly, tying into this, do the Bucks have what it takes defensively? Because if not, I'm telling you, it's just going to end up just like game 1 and 2 did. Pacers jump out to an early lead, and the Bucks are just fighting to get back in the game, and the Pacers either maintain that lead and they win by 20, 15, 25, get leads up to 30, or the Pacers maintain the lead until the last minute, and it's kind of a close game at the end, but ultimately the Pacers pull out again and win by, single digits or like that, or 10 points. Because the Pacers are much more of a unit as a team. And if Haliburton doesn't have a good game, he still has 7, 8 other guys that can score 15, 20, 25 points to take the load off Haliburton. Where if Giannis is having this monster game, Dame has an okay game, who's next? Bobby had his great game, and they still fell short. So who's going to be the X factor that steps up? Kuzma? Gary Trent Jr.? Does Gary Trent Jr. need to have a game where he scores like 38, 40 points, hits like 7 threes, one of those type of games? Is that what a Bucks victory would look like, structure-wise, scoring-wise? So we really have to assess the Bucks and what they have defensively, and if that is enough to overcome what the Pacers have unleashed so far in this series. So that is my overall assessment of these first 2 games so far. We got to give the Bucks a chance going into these game 3 and game 4s. Game 2, game 1 is over with. We saw what the Pacers can do. Can the Bucks match that going into game 3 and 4? And overall, are the Pacers just too much for the Bucks to handle? If you guys are new to the channel, like you guys see, go ahead and drop a like button and subscribe and join the family. Other than that, it's been your boy Mike, and you can let that beat.